Record
Tuttle revamp.
Going live on the IG. All right, we're gonna hit him with the solid one. Well, right?
Yep. 3, 2.
Boom. Whoa.
Team!
No Win Mafia. Welcome back. Mikey hitting the woes down there. Welcome back to another episode of the No Windy Sleeves podcast. Today we have two very special guests. They're a part of R3vamp, the founders of R3vamp. Again, you're here with myself, Coach Tuttle, co-host, the curly-headed freak, Coach Rurik Farrow. We have my buddy, my longtime, lifelong friend, Mike. Mike Hicks, grew up with him, played a lot of baseball together, kind of shared a vision of everything we wanted to do. And we have Gregory Molloy up top. He is stationed out in New Mexico. He's in the pipeline of becoming a pararescueman. Did I say that properly?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for your services. We really appreciate that. As you can see, he's pretty jacked up. So we're in good hands with him. But we want to get on today and kind of just go over some of the stuff these guys are doing. They have an awesome thing they're building. They built out for a couple years. I've seen it from the infancy stages. So we really want to dive right in, get you guys going. So, Mike, why don't you give us a little bit of your background before we get too deep into the business?
Yeah. So personally, my background education-wise is in psychology with a coaching certification. I have years of coaching experience between baseball and then doing what we do with R3vamp. I played a little bit of college ball. I still play baseball, which is cool. I play semi-pro ball in Boston. Well, did play semi-pro ball. Now it's just men's league. But it's fun, man. You got to keep your dream alive. You already know.
I would die to play in the men's league, man.
Oh, it's a blast, dude. It's a blast.
Fucking play in the men's league.
Dude, we play wood bat, man. It's competitive. Fast pitch, yeah. It's awesome.
I did that
baseball
for summer when I moved here, and I was catching double headers. I couldn't recover for 5 days.
Yeah, dude. We got the North Shore Navigator Stadium in Lynn. It's badass. It's turf infield, grass outfield. It's awesome. But I'm here with my best friend and partner in business, co-founder here, Greg. We started this thing here in 2017 was when we first kind of initiated the conversations about R3vamp. But Greg, do you want to fill them in on like what you do and who you are, and then we'll kind of dive more into R3vamp?
Sure. Yeah, just like a quick little background about me. I went to Merrimack College, graduated with a biology degree. I played football there for 3 years. I actually was a kicker. And yeah, I worked as a biologist for 3 years and started my Untamed Fit personal training company on the side, and I've been running that for about 6 years. Awesome clients in Miami. I learned a lot from them, hopefully taught them some good things, and still have kind of like a little family back in Miami. And Mike and I have always been talking about doing something with our lives, with fitness, and it's kind of evolved and kind of brought us here, with the whole R3vamp push and movement. And now I'm actually in the Air Force, and I'm just doing it remotely with Mikey, and we're just constantly trying to grow and feed off each other. And yeah, kind of where we're at.
So we got a couple other guys involved of operations. His name's Dave Giarusso. He's not on the call, obviously, but he's involved. So it's the three of us that spearhead this whole movement. And, we're all certified in personal training, nutrition, reflexive performance reset, which is called RPR. And essentially what it is it's a foam rolling of the nervous system. So it's another way to tap into that whole body-mind connection. We have some background in flow state as well. And that's kind of what we created this company on foundationally, was the idea of flow state. So I wrote my thesis in college on motivation in athletes and how it correlates to peak performance and flow state. So that was when I started being introduced to the concept of flow. And I keep saying flow, people are like, what the hell is that? Well, flow state, what that is it's being so engaged in your activity that nothing else matters and you're able to achieve optimal performance. So it's essentially turning on the blinders and finding a tunnel vision, but not a tunnel vision that's distracting or negative and doesn't allow you to make adjustments, right? It's all about being super engaged in what you're doing and having the utmost confidence and a balance of, skill, challenge, risk, fear, anxiety, confidence. There's a number of different things that go into it. But that was fundamentally why we created R3vamp, was to help athletes achieve flow state. So Chris, you can probably speak to this, some of the initial conversations that we had, right, was like, we're little New Hampshire, 603, not a whole lot of training opportunities. So we would say, in our initial conversations, we'd be like, what didn't we have growing up that we wish we had that would have made us better athletes and given us better opportunities? And that was it was the catalyst for creating this concept behind R3vamp, which is all driven off of flow. And what we found was that in order to achieve flow state, you have to be sound body, mind, and spirit. You have to be a holistic person, a holistic athlete, and you have to be truly, truly driven and focused on a routine and have, smart goals, short-term goals, long-term goals, but doing all the little things to grow and allow you to achieve those goals. And what was really interesting for us was that we really realized that it's the mind and it's the brain that controls the athlete, right? That controls the body. Yeah, conscious mind, savage body, full heart, right?
Oh yeah.
The way we kind of pitch it and the way that we try to like dumb it down, right, is that the brain is what runs the body. The brain runs the nervous system. So if you don't take care of your brain, if you don't train your brain, because it is a muscle, if you don't expand that ability within your brain, you're not going to be able to achieve optimal performance physically. So what we created was a foundation that's built on, like I said, body, mind, and spirit. So we do nutrition, we do strength conditioning, we do speed and agility, we do the physical stuff, but we really, really focus on the mind and the spirit. And in that, what we do is we really crush positive psychology, mental skills techniques, almost having like a mental skills coach that you have access to at all times, but in conjunction with what we call cognitive conditioning. And we train athletes' brains in a way that like I said, it allows them to expand, right? So we focus on things like memory, we focus on things like processing, we focus on overloading, right? All tied in with vision, hand-eye reaction, footwork, all that kind of stuff. We create stress exposure environments for our athletes because that's one of the things that when shit hits the fan, when you're in competition mode, right, you start shallow breathing and you're not engaged in what's happening because you're anxious and you're spinning. It's super hard to perform. Like everybody can speak to that. It doesn't really matter what it could be sport, it could be business, it could be just training, weightlifting, right? If you're not sharp up here and you're not able to stay engaged in what's currently happening, right, it's very difficult to operate yourself. So
let me ask you something based on that real quick, off script.
Sure.
Do you think so much of this cognitive training, right, for your mind, it's a beneficial tool for people that maybe have an issue like public speaking? Because I know when I used to hate public speaking, I love it now. I used to get that flutter in my chest and I couldn't really function sentences because your heart rate. Is that a good practice for people in business before they go present a project?
Certainly, yeah. So the idea of expanding the brain, there's a number of different kind of like branches that come out of that, right? But like hypothetically with that example, public speaking is a lot of remembering what to say, right? And being engaged, but still being able to kind of retrieve information and spit it out in a way that makes sense. So one of our training techniques is called training working memory, right? So working memory is your ability to make an adjustment in the moment. So it's, imagine like a projector screen going off in your head. There's 7 or 8 things that pop up in that working memory that you can choose from in the moment to react to, right? So hypothetically, you're like you said, in public speaking, you're nervous, you're not able to manifest the right thoughts and you're feeling stressed out and things like that. But if you can train your working memory to be larger, expand that bank, you have more to pull from, right? And make those adjustments, and you have that ability to draw knowledge that, again, is a lot easier to pull from. And it allows that creation of adjustment in the moment. But if you master breathing in conjunction with training the brain, you're training yourself to stay calm and have a wider variety of things to pull from, right? So again, we train about brain injury patients, not just athletes. We have, clients that have difficulty moving on the right side of their body. So what we do is we train those neurological connections on the right side, like force them to use parts of their body that they're not comfortable with because their brain has conditioned themselves not to, right? We'll train them to use that side, and then it becomes almost like a second nature, right? It's like a muscle memory in a sense. But to answer, again, your question specifically, yes, 100%. Cognitive conditioning, training the brain like a muscle, creating more opportunity within that space will enable growth outside of sport, whether it be business, whether it be public speaking, whether it just be, like we said, weight training, whether it just be setting goals for yourself to stay locked into a routine and things like that. What's really cool about cognitive conditioning is that studies have shown that it slows down the growth of degenerative brain disease. So not only does it benefit you like in those momentary settings, but it also long-term is super, super healthy.
I think that and I know speaking on R3vamp before we get too deep into some of that other stuff, we're super like spiritual people. So we have a really deep belief that like, if your mind's not right, your body is not going to be right. And I think, when you came to me, when we started talking about this in 2017, and you read the idea, and I wanted to be a part of it. It was tough for me time-wise because, we're building Fast Switch at the same time. I couldn't go time, but
long story. We know.
Yeah, we've identified for so long that A, there's not that much of this stuff offered, but B, it's super important. We kind of tie it into everything we do too. When we talk about finding, we simplify it, like finding a hobby to stimulate your brain still.
Yep.
Guitar or whatever for mental stimulation to kind of run congruently with your physical training, because it's super important to have both those pieces. And both of us, we connect so well together because we're both super spiritual and believe so much in the mental piece of it.
So when it's something that clicked inside, in me, right? When you were explaining training in stress-induced environments. Just for the viewers, the way that I could even simplify that even more, have you ever watched Deadpool, right? So in the beginning of Deadpool, how Deadpool becomes the superhero, I guess, that he is from those stress-induced environments that crazy dude puts him through, and then his body, he can get a limb cut off and regrow. So it's comical, but that's kind of how I think about it, the way you explained it. And so I could correlate it to this. Chris has been telling me in my deadlifts, right? You gotta press through the floor, and it wasn't clicking with me. I watched the videos for a guy on YouTube, and the way he explained it, it worked, right? It just clicked. That's exactly what you just did for me. And I want to thank you for that. Like, it's kind of the way you explained it allowed me to think of Deadpool, but the way that he was able to train in those stress-induced environments, although it was against his will.
Well, it's true. It's true.
But that's exactly what happened. So I want to thank you for that again. But it's
no
crazy.
Problem.
It just clicked. It works.
I think it's painting the picture. Like, Chris, to your point, dude, like, because this stuff doesn't really exist commonly, it's really our job to paint the picture, to create a situation that is easily understood and that is applicable to your own life. So, Chris, you'll relate to this 1,000%. Rue, I don't know what sports you played. Did you play baseball?
I'm 5'8", so
no sport.
Yeah, I played the 3 sports in high school, but nothing in college. But yeah, I'm a big baseball guy.
Okay, so baseball. So everybody can relate.
Thank you, baby.
I love it. Hey, baseball in general, man, whatever. And Greg, obviously Greg's a football guy, but kicking is super, it correlates to what we're about to talk about. So we use baseball as an example.
That's one of the most high-stressed environments, that I could think about. It would be sorry to interrupt, but I mean.
No, you can we'll let Greg talk about that after.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is that, like, baseball is a really great example to paint the picture for stress exposure and for minimizing or attempting to minimize negative thought. And the reason behind that is because if you fail 7 out of 10 times on a baseball field, you're in the hall, dude.
Dude, that's a quote I've said for my entire life. Entire life since I've been a kid.
What other sport does that exist in? Right now, there are other sports where, there's that like ownership, but like golf, for instance, right? You're alone, right? And if you don't master your own mindset, you are, I'm going to say it, you're fucked.
Yeah.
It's what it is. And
more ways than one too. Yeah.
That's right. So what we've kind of, and because baseball is a world that we live in a lot, and like we train all sports, football, basketball, lacrosse, hockey, golf, you name it, whatever. But baseball, right, is because of that world of negativity that you have to live in and you have to be okay with. That stress exposure type of a drill is huge, because what you do is you enable people to breathe through being overloaded with stress. And when we get in those negative thought mindsets, that's that overload, right? You're overloading yourself with negativity and creating a shallow breath. So if you can create these simulated stressful environments and teach people how to work through it, the idea of failing 7 out of 10 times isn't as bad. And there's other negative thought stoppage techniques that we teach through that process in conjunction with breathing that you can literally almost trick your brain, right, into thinking positive and then thusly reacting positive. And we always talk about like turning the page. That's huge in baseball, because if you first at bat, you got to turn the page. You can't sit and dwell in that. Otherwise, it's going to have an effect on the rest of your game. So how do we train ourselves to be able to shut off negative thinking and turn on positive thinking? And again, those stress exposure environments plus positive psychology techniques like mental imagery, visualization, the list goes on, but there's a lot of different ways to kind of try to like build up a confidence within an athlete to overcome that stuff. And, you put that in high speed settings. So basketball, soccer, hockey games, that it's like this, you don't have time to think. It's more of a reactionary sport. So those are different types of trainings, right? You want to train more of in that type of a mindset where you're go, 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 no stop, right? Versus a baseball or golf, it's up and down. It's go, it's stop, it's go, it's stop. So again, painting the picture for us is huge. Baseball, softball, great way to do it.
My life would be so
how
different
would you?
if I had this shit.
Yeah,
I
game changer.
only baseball and golf. And
Bro.
my biggest thing was I'm a fucking mental case. I still am.
I know this about you. I've always known this about you. Like, dude, when we used to hit in the tunnels when we were kids, right? We would talk about this stuff, but we never had like an outlet. We didn't really understand like how to move through it. Like we understood that there was an issue, but we didn't have a solution. And that's kind of where we come in, is we want to create a solution in that void, right? In that void of training.
That's why I was so excited when you guys told me that you were starting this, because I think it's so valuable, and it's the missing link. There are so many outlets for physical training now that, and you, again, that only gets you to one point. A lot of the thing that holds a lot of people back is not their physical ability. It's
right.
Not to adapt and challenge and grow with it.
Well,
that's why I think what you guys are doing is so awesome.
And what resonated when you guys were talking, especially when Rue was talking, and C-Tut, you mentioned how you were playing guitar and stuff like that, and Mikey is talking about like staying in that game like mindset when you're in the game, like you were mentioning baseball. But what really resonated with me is like when you guys were mentioning the instruments, I was just thinking about layman's terms, for everyone that's watching, is just staying grounded. Like, how can you stay grounded in your daily life and then bring that grounded, calm, but like killer mindset into the game?
It's balance.
It's balance. And that's what's taken me from being a kicker in college, like staying in the zone in that flow state. Like you can watch as many videos as you want. You can like prepare mentally before the game, pack a big chaw, breathe, like do whatever you need to do to like, stay calm and, stay in your lane. But like, if you're not grounded as a human being, like if you're just not happy, you're not, spiritual, praying, breathing right, you're not happy at home, you're not going to perform the way you need to do. And you're going to be all flustered when it comes down to it. And that's what's kind of brought me into like this whole special operations pipeline that I'm in. We go through selection, we get drowned in the pool. There's many things that we had to do to get to this point where I'm at now. And now we're in like paramedics. And so we're doing like all these academics, and to stay grounded primarily is like key.
And then ask you that, Greg, because when we spoke 3 years ago, I know that I think you had some visions to do what you're doing, but a big one for you was competing in the CrossFit Games. Now you look like you could compete in the CrossFit Games right now.
He could.
No, I appreciate it.
A lot of you choosing this path and excelling in this path was because you started practicing more of that mental flow state and grounding yourself, and it allowed you to kind of excel in that.
Right. So, I mean, yeah, man. So in Miami, training my clients and then doing CrossFit on the side and being like, hey, I'm going to the games. Like, what do I need to do to go to the games? And started talking to some other coaches, and they're like, dude, you got to put on some size. Like, you need to get strong. You need to be fit. And on that, road to trying to do that, I started thinking to myself, well, okay, like mentally, I'm pretty sound when it comes to like just pushing through the pain and like just I'm not the strongest dude, but like grit was there. And then I just started thinking to myself, well, if I have all these abilities, they're not that much, but I was like, I have enough right now where like I could do triathlons, I could compete, but what am I really doing like for other people? And then that's kind of what brought me here. Cause I wanted to take everything that I was learning and becoming and then apply it to saving lives. And that's kind of what,
like a bigger vision to use your tools.
Something else that I know, and I'll speak about my best friend because he is my best friend, but he surrounds himself with really great people, and he surrounds himself with a really awesome team of inspiration. So specific to that example, Greg used to hang out with Noah Olson. Noah Olson's the second fittest man in the world right now in CrossFit. Absolute freak of nature. Greg has his number. Greg took the time in knowing that he wanted to go to the games and befriended Noah, right? So it's a small example, but it's that same idea. It's the same reason that all four of us are on a call right now. Surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals who can inspire you and help you to grow and become a better version of yourself. I'm blessed to have Greg as a best friend because he helps me do that, and thankfully we're business partners. So we help our business.
Likewise, buddy.
So, but
that's what Rick and I always say.
Yeah.
but with that being said, Chris, we've taken different paths, but you and I are cut from the same cloth. We grew up down the street from each other. We went to different high schools, but we played baseball together. We went to different colleges, but we still trained baseball together when we came home in the summer, right? Like we stayed in touch. We wanted you to become a part of R3vamp because of who you are fundamentally, right? So it all comes back to that circle, and I think that like what you guys are trying to do and what we're trying to do, yeah, it's a little different, but it's also very similar because what we want to do is inspire people, right? We want to help people grow. And your guys' motto is 1% better every day, right? Our motto is move the needle, bro. Every day. I don't care if it's 1% or 55%. Move the needle. Just do something a little bit to advance every day. And that was a major part of our business, right? Like when we started R3vamp, we were all working full time. I was working in the financial district. I quit my job last July to pursue this full time because I believe in it so much. But the only reason I was able to do that is because every day we pushed ourselves to just move the needle, right? Just move it in a positive direction. So how do you do that at home, right? Especially now with like what's going on with quarantine and things like that. And I really believe that it's that idea of routine and balance, like Greg was saying. And like Chris, you were saying, playing a guitar, playing an instrument, doing something to stimulate it's stimulating your brain. You're activating other parts of your brain that normally would not be firing because you're so locked into your normal stuff. But when you add in these other types of mix-ups, you're stimulating other parts of your brain. Therefore, you're working out your brain more and you're enabling more creativity and growth, right? So, I think I play the drums. Greg knows that. I don't know if you guys know that. So I've been playing the drums since I was in 8th grade. Like when I get stressed out now, I just go rip, dude. That's the only way. Like that's my way of moving through it. Because I can bang on stuff, right? Because lifting in the gym only gets you so far when you're angry and you want to go. Sometimes you need something else. For me, it's hammering on drums, baby. It's loud. I smash on stuff, and I get to make cool music. You know what I mean? Like that's stimulating for me.
Yeah, let's do this, Mike. In conjunction with that, a lot of people right now have these goal, and especially during this time, they've identified different dreams, different passions, right? How was this is off subject, I know. How was the transition going from, you know, I say a normal job, essentially working for someone else 9 to 5, having to get out at 5, following your dream, right? To officially going into business of yourself, being your own boss. So at first, what was the two-part question? How was that challenge of knowing that everything you're doing 9 to 5, you were held accountable to someone else, but then finding ways to motivate yourself to sit down and say, nah, shit, now I have to do my passion work from 5 to 10. Second part of that question is, how has the transition been going from working for someone else to now full-time for yourself?
So I might have you repeat that second part after, but
I got you.
you know, I think to answer the first part of that question, it's identifying my why, and knowing what I want to do every day of my life and who I want to surround myself. It's like knowing, for me, it was like knowing what my passion is, what my gifts are, and then how do I tie that all together, right? And was it easy to be able to do a 9 to 5 and then have to go do revamp at night? No, not at all. It sucked. It was not easy. It was very difficult. But what made it achievable and bearable was my love for wanting to inspire and wanting to make a difference, and then having guys like Greg around me, right, to keep me motivated. Guys like Dave, our president of operations, you know, guys that had similar hearts and had similar ideas of wanting to inspire and create a difference in the world. And
holding each other accountable for our
it's
why.
accountability, but it's a lot of self-introspection, man. It's a lot of like, you got to look in the mirror and figure out what you like about yourself and what you don't like about yourself. And then you got to figure out how to improve both of those things.
Dude, I just looked at him, I said, is this me talking? Is this exactly what I sound like? Because every single day I tell people you need to identify your why, keep it in front of your face. And every single day I tell people that it starts with the ability to self-reflect and look yourself in the mirror and identify, really look at yourself. Am I doing what I need to do?
Yeah.
And what do I really want?
And I think, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying, am I failing? Am I doing enough? But some people can't look themselves in the mirror as a man or a woman and say, I didn't do shit today.
Because it's hard to accept that you're not achieving your potential. That's difficult. It's hard to look in the mirror and say I suck. And it's even harder to look in the mirror and say I suck and this is what I have to do to improve.
But once you finally do, once you can finally get past that dude, you just gave me chills. Once you finally get past that point, then it's probably the easiest thing to do.
So easy.
And then you could turn that into motivation now.
Yeah, dude.
Turn that into a habit. Because now
100%.
Shit, my ego's getting in the way. I can't see, you know, it's bothering me that I suck, right?
Yeah.
But once you tell yourself, yeah, I fucking suck. All right, let's fucking wake up and get done what I have to do today. Then it's a completely different story.
And it's whole life. It's not just business. My relationship got tenfold better with my wife when I started looking in the mirror and saying, wow, I'm not doing this. I'm being a fucking shitty husband. Or you know what I'm saying? So it's applicable to every part of life. And when I was able to make that change as a man, my world has completely changed.
It's ego. It's what Ruja said, Chris. It's ego. And ego is the enemy, right? Like that's kind of the way that we look at it, is like, and we all do, we're human. Like everybody has an ego. Like it doesn't,
we have to.
Yeah.
It's great that
not,
Go. I'm sorry. You get me.
No, you're good. You're good. I was going to say, like, how do you take the ego and then like manifest it into positivity, you know? And I think like you're saying, it's accepting that we have flaws. Like no one's perfect. And it's identifying what makes you tick, what do you love, and then taking your strengths and pushing them towards that, and then looking at the weaknesses and figuring out ways to improve those, and then pushing that towards your goal. You know, it was, you know, like we've been through a lot with Revamp related to like guys coming in and out and trying to keep everybody on task with what everybody has going on in their lives. It's very difficult, but I have to say that it's the heart. It's heart, man. It's the heart. It's the heart of the guys that are around me that keep this rolling. You know what I mean? And I think it boils down to having a good heart and having a good perspective on like, what is my why, dude? What is my purpose? Like what, that's it, dude. It's just, what is my why? And I'll let Greg talk about that, because this kid is he's the
I
why.
want to ask Greg a question too, but yeah, go ahead. I want to hear
The why king, dude.
Well, just before we talk about the why, like when you guys were talking, even about relationship and being married, and that like drove home for me, just because, we're in the grind over here. Life is good, and ego plays a big part in people's life and their downfalls and their swings. But it's also like remembering, how good we have it and staying grateful, and even jotting those things down every day for me.
like gratitude. It's that simple.
Perspective, man.
I put a video up earlier this week saying this week I'm really focusing on practicing perspective.
There you go.
Yeah. And just staying, like, it's so easy to stay positive. There's so many people that are down with this whole Corona thing, but like writing down every day just a few things that you're grateful for, it just kind of keeps you like grounded and humble and appreciative. And that's like a big thing for me in the pipeline, because like you can get beat up physically and mentally. I mean, mentally more so than physically, even though, we've been through stages in the pipeline where I'm just like physically beat up, but just remembering how good we really have it helps. And that helps in everyday life. Like,
there's a reason why that's in your 7-step program if you're an addict, right? Is gratitude and thanking whomever you believe in, a higher power or God. 3 things every day. Thank you for a roof over my head. Thank you for clean water. And thank you for having a friend, right? And it's whatever it is. But I did have a question for Greg, but before that, I hate that I cannot remember this person's name. I watched a TED Talk once, and it was about thinking of ego as, because we all have one. If anyone says they don't have an ego, they're goddamn lying to you. We all have an ego because we need it. It's thinking of ego as a fuel gauge in your car, right? So I'm walking into a meeting with scientists and microbiologists to discuss fucking COVID-19. You better believe my fucking ego is going to be empty. I'm a fucking criminal justice major, bro. Come on. I'm not going to walk in with my ego high. But if I'm going to go in front of a stadium and talk to 50,000 people about fitness and wellness, I'm going to crank my fucking ego up to full. You better believe I'm going to act like I'm the fucking man, because I have to. I have to be the man in front of 50,000 people, because you're here to see me. But the question I had for Greg, how would you not knowing if you had an ego issue right before you were enlisted into the military, or but how would you apply really learning how to dial up and back your ego with everything you're going through right now? Because there's so much discipline. I mean, that's the foundational level of discipline that you're going through right now. So how are you kind of transitioning to like dial back your ego, or when a higher up level, I don't know the levels of the military, I apologize, but when someone higher than you is speaking to you, right? How can you yelling at you in your face and getting into you while your body's in pain and you're in physical exhaustion? How do you dial your ego back and make sure you don't fucking open your mouth or anything,
He's a robot. That's how.
Especially being 30 years old and having like the higher ups being like 22-year-old chumps.
Yeah, think about that.
Kid is a robot. He's a freak.
You know what it is, dude? It's staying humble but hungry. You know what I mean? And staying in that flow state. So humble, yes, staying humble the whole time. Like, yo, I can do this. Like, I can do this. I'm just going to be quiet. I'm going to execute. What's the objective?
It's not cocky. There's a difference between cocky and confidence. And, it's exactly what you're saying. You're confident in your abilities to get done what you have to get done, and maintaining that humility while doing it.
Greg and I are also religious. Greg and I are Catholics. We believe in God, and a lot of what we do when we get into these controversial times, right? Whatever it may be, is we lean on our faith. Mm-hmm. And it's the spirit, man. Like, the stuff that you can't control, give it to God. That's the way that we look at it, and it's a matter of like Greg used to call me, right? Like, obviously I talk to the kid every day, but he'd be going through the pipeline and he'd call me and I might be throwing you under the bus here, but he'd be telling me a little bit about like what he's doing here and there. And I'd be like, again, this is my best friend. I'd be like, dude, how are you doing this? And he'd be like, I just go to a place in my head. I shut it all out. I get in a flow. I just go to a place in my head. He's talking to me about like, you know, the videos that they get forced to watch that are like, wah, 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 like grown men crying around him. And I'm like, how are you doing it? He goes, I don't know. I kind of just go in my head and I just live there. Like it's crazy, dude. The discipline.
You have to, I guess, right?
It's the mental discipline, you know, and
you guys have your whys. Like everyone has their specific why. And my why has always been to bring like the heroes back to their families. And that's like my main objective in this trying to be a pararescueman. It's like, I want to go save those heroes and bring them back home to their families. So like when I'm in the pool and I'm holding my breath, like that's what I'm thinking. I'm not thinking about the pain. I'm not thinking about the other guys quitting around me, like 50 people quitting in 3 days. Like I was like, what is going on right now? I'm like, so, you know, and then even up to this point in the pipeline, like just remembering I'm on the phone.
the meatloaf.
Hey, love you, buddy. I'm on the phone right now. I'll text you in a minute. But yeah, just remembering that, staying grounded, and yeah, I hope that answers your question, man.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah,
So
of course.
one of the things that we posted about the other day is the idea of like hitting your fundamental your needs, your lower needs, and it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. There's a pyramid, and the lowest part of the needs, it's food, water, warmth, rest, safety, and security, right? And if you're not mastering those things, if you're not making those things important, the rest of, you know, the difficulties in life, so relationships, friendships, self-actualization, it's very difficult to achieve. So it's really focusing on, like we were saying, the introspection, the little things, it's setting goals and then figuring out a way to achieve those goals, you know? And I think like Chris, being that you're similar to me in that mindset, like we're New Hampshire boys, Greg too, right? Like we cut wood.
Let's go.
Dude, we cut wood and we landscape as kids. Like that's, you know what I mean? Like we were out in the woods, dude. Like, you know, it's that blue collar, like, you know, knowing that humble, you know, beginning and kind of also trying to grow off of that. And I think, again, it's the fundamental thing for Greg and I, and it's R3vamp's foundation as well, but it's body, mind, and spirit, man. And it's a day at a time, keeping your why in front of you, remembering what's important, you know, being okay with being wrong and being okay with knowing that you have flaws and understanding that you're a human and it's part of the journey. It's a journey, man. Life is a journey.
So much of what you just said with going back to like being New Hampshire kid. So like, you know, I don't know, I talk about it all the time. I'm having a baby in August, right? And so it's like stressing me out in a way because I feel like I have a lot of pressure because I'm living up. I want to live up. And this just goes back to my gratitude. I want to live up to how my parents raised me,
right?
And what they did for me and the lessons they taught me.
Yeah, your parents are awesome.
Yeah, I know. I love them. They're my role models. They've done so much for me. Not even from like a monetary standpoint. The lessons they taught me, I'm so grateful for because Chris, you have to go chop a cord of wood today because the fire, we're getting a snowstorm, you know, whereas, you know, some people don't make their kids do that, but it was more making me do that to teach me a lesson of, you know, humbleness and the blue collar work ethic. And I'm grateful for that. And if you could go back and be grateful for the way that you were raised, you know, less from like what they provided from you from a materialistic way,
right?
That goes so much. And I try to make that applicable to the way that I live every day. And now trying to use that to change my mental state from going, I'm only worrying about myself, to everything that you do is a direct reflection, you know, on your child. I say within a business or a team, everything that happens in Fast Switch, I've either taught or I allow. So everything that happens is a reflection on me. Everything.
I love that. I love that.
It's so true. And I think now, especially reconnecting with you guys, using your tools to really challenge and grow my mental state is going to benefit my family when she
Yeah.
comes in August so much, because so much of it goes into the bigger lessons that you're teaching rather
Yeah.
than finding things materialistic. You know?
And I think a lot of this stuff too, like people need to be gentle on themselves. Like if they're hearing us talk about this and they're like, you know what I mean? It's overwhelmed almost by like what we're diving into, because this stuff is hard and it's challenging and it
The
requires,
hardest thing you're gonna ever do in your life.
dude,
Is look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself that you fucking suck and you failed at something.
100%. And it's like, you know, if for anyone that's listening that's like our age, guess what? You're young. You got plenty of time, baby. Like, you know, I got friends, Greg too can relate to this. Like we have friends that we've grown up with that like we love, but sometimes we maybe don't agree with their decisions. And it's like, everyone's on their journey, dude. Like be a positive light in everyone's life and do what you can to inspire. And after
shout out to Zern, my boy, trademark 2020, Michael Chernikowski.
Yep.
His quote is, "Live with a purpose to serve a purpose."
There you go, man.
I love that, because one DM a day, one life touched a day. He always touches on be 1/0. One life, your purpose is served. And you keep talking about being a bright
Yeah. And you're constantly growing through what you're going through.
Yes. And you're growing with people. You don't start this platform saying you know everything. I say that all the time. We don't do this when you think we have everything figured out. We do it because we want to help people and be a resource in any way possible.
We started this in 2017. I probably got 4 or 5 certifications since then. You know what I mean?
With this.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about one of your certifications.
As we start to really dial down, because we're limited on time, I want to get back to your guys' business vision with all this.
Okay.
Because you guys have such an amazing platform. You're doing such amazing things.
Thank you.
I guess for another 2-part question. We'll start with the first part.
I don't even think I answered part 2 of the other one.
I forgot to say it. Deliverables for you guys. So if people want to join you guys in what you're doing, is it strictly a brick and mortar, or do you guys offer remote services, Zoom calls, stuff like that?
Yeah, so we're happy to offer anything, you know, remote. What we've done thus far has essentially been like a concierge service where we go to our clients. We've established partnerships with a couple organizations that have allowed us to use their space. We also have partnerships with some of the training tools that we use. So we're partnered with Blaze Pods, which are the reaction lights. We're partnered with Hiko Sticks, which is a vision training tool. They actually just got named #1 coordination tool by Men's Health magazine. And then we are partnered with Vector Ball, which is another vision training tool, as well as Tater Bat Company, which is a wood bat company out of Connecticut, kind of local. So, you know, what we
your website.
So yeah, our website or our Instagram. So www.revamp, which is R3vamp.net, or @revamp elite. Again, we're in the process right now of trying to digitize all of our stuff and enable our clients to be able to purchase any of these products at a discounted rate if they'd like to, based on our partnerships. But the brick and mortar aspect of stuff, that's up here in the Northeast, in New Hampshire and in Massachusetts. So we have a baseball facility that we work out of in Massachusetts, in Woburn, at A's Baseball, 31 Draper Street, Woburn, Mass. And then we're currently working on, I don't want to expose too much, but we're currently working on a couple partnerships up here in New Hampshire that we're really excited about. So we're hoping very much that within the next couple months, there's a concrete brick and mortar location that you can come to anytime you want to.
That was going to be my next question. So like 5-year long-term vision for your company.
Yeah.
To have multiple brick and mortars throughout the company, to have one hub and do most of it remote.
So we're working on 2 locations and then everything else remote. One in New Hampshire, one in Massachusetts. A lot of what we offer, it's self-empowering stuff, right? Like you can do it at home, but you're going to maximize your opportunity if you're with a trainer that is certified and truly understands how to design the drills and properly structure and progress everything. You know, Rue, I've heard you talk about it in the past. I've heard you say it on videos. It's called personal training for a reason. You know, and I believe that's true, man. Like, this is not a one-size-fits-all kind of a game. We're not playing that game, dude. You want to play that game, go to McDonald's. Like, you know what I mean? That's Planet Fitness, dude. Go ahead. Like we're not about that life. You know, we're about, like I said, creating and structuring programs that are conducive to the individual. So with that being said, like the pro that we train, right? Like our professional baseball player that we've been working with, he's physically and mentally all set. but he's at a point where in order to grow and get to the next level, he has to refine those skills. So what we did was we would design drills around soft focus. So he was a pitcher where like he'd find his target, he'd lose it, he'd find it, he'd lose it, he'd go. So we would design drills around enhancing his ability to focus on soft spaces and enhance his peripheral vision so that when he's on the mound, it all clicks, right? Again, the brick and mortar side of things, like there's cognitive conditioning, as I was mentioning before, with the different training modalities, using hands, using eyes, using feet, all that stuff. That's the stuff where you're going to want to come see us, you know, in conjunction with the physical training, the speed, agility. We can design nutrition stuff. Like we can design any of that stuff for remote, remote access, but we want our remote work to drive traffic to our actual location. That's the goal.
Love it. Oh, I think that's awesome. Again, I love what you guys are doing. As we wrap up, what's one thing that each of you guys would want to leave with anybody that's tuning in here and listening?
One
message.
I think it's right now we're in such a tough time. I encourage people to just focus on living a day at a time, you know, and not trying to get too far ahead of what's happening. You know, you guys can relate to this as small business owners. Like, this shit is terrifying. No freaking idea what's going to happen. But if we live in that mindset, we're screwed. So without worrying about the fear of the unknown, because that's what fear is, right? It's the anxiety of what we don't know. We live in the now and we focus on what we can control. And what we can control is our effort, our attitude, and our action. And if you can give 100% effort, 100% attitude, so total positivity, and 100% towards that action, whether it be moving the needle 55% or just the 1%, you're going to grow. It's inevitable. You're going to have to take a look in the mirror, right? And you're going to have to address yourself because you're living a day at a time. Focus on those small things, like I said before, with the lower needs, right? So it's the food, water, warmth, rest, safety, and security. You know, those are the most important things right now because the rest of it is a trickle down. Greg, you got anything else?
Oh, one thing that I want to just push out is that what the question was?
Yep.
I mean, there's so many things on my mind, but for me, I think just staying grateful and trying to spread the positivity.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, at the basic level, you know, just staying grounded, you know, what makes you happy, and then spreading positivity and getting better one day at a time, like Mikey said, just one step at a time.
Well, it's even being grateful for just the roof over your head. You know what I mean? It's thinking about the fact that there's people out there right now who are living on the street. They're homeless. There's a coronavirus pandemic.
Always someone that's in a worse situation.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like and I think that's the key. And that's removing the ego and understanding that we're all humans on this planet and we control our destiny based on our attitude, our effort, and our action, you know? So
I also wanted to say
go ahead, Greg. Go.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I just wanted to say,
please.
On top of that, thank you guys so much for like reaching
I was
out.
gonna say that. Yeah, thank you.
Stop it. Thank you guys, bro.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Anytime
this was the best fucking chat, man. I mean, next week when we hang up, we're gonna call you and we're gonna book another one next week because this was awesome.
We're in, dude. We'll do as many of these as you want. You know, like I told Chris on the phone earlier this week, like I think our biggest deficiency as a business is social media and Instagram. Like we suck at it. We're trying to be better.
Trying to learn from you guys.
So yeah, dude, any exposure online will take, like, you know, and again, like Greg said, even learning from our friends that are doing a better job. Like, you know, I think
using
however we can help each other.
Exactly. Using the resources you have now. You have the ability to touch millions of people with a device that sits in your pocket all day.
Right.
Sharing it, I say this and I tell people, don't take this personally. You guys are so smart and have so much knowledge. If you're not sharing it with people,
it's almost like you're doing a disservice, dude. You're doing. Exactly. I think about that too. That's what pushes me to like put it out. Because I'm like, I'm sitting here.
Like, why are you getting all that information? And I always tell people it's selfish in a way. But one little bit of information that, like, from what I've been getting so much feedback, small information. I put a thing up about drinking water yesterday. I got like 4 or 5 DMs from people that I don't know. someone repost me on their story that I don't know, because it's just something that a lot of people don't know. And no matter how small and minute you think that piece of information is, for someone it could be life changing. So constantly putting out stuff that you know, whether a lot of people know about it or not, it is very, very valuable.
Yeah.
I'm going on that. We're definitely going to link up next week. Maybe we're going to start to get into more specific steps of how you guys do your stuff, and let these, because there's a lot of people commenting on our live right now that that hadn't known about this mental training. So we were going to get into those details.
Cool.
But thank you guys so much for joining us.
You.
Episode 6 of the No Windy podcast. We're going to hit it with a little goodbye. Whoa, you guys
3,
are welcome to join. 2. Whoa. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys for joining us live.
Yo, you guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Stay safe. Stay safe in New Mexico, brother, all right?
All right, you guys.
Love you guys.
Yo, I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you. Stay up.
We're off live, so we can stay on for 1 second. We have 3 minutes.
Again, I'm going to piss my fucking pants, guys. I'm sorry.
You're good. Yo, seriously, that was fucking gold.
Yo, that
was gold.
You like that?
It was fucking perfect, bro. And I seriously want to get into, because I got a lot of comments on there, like, holy shit, I didn't know about this. So what we'll do is put in like an hour next week or something where you guys can basically pick like 1 or 2 points, maybe the first steps of, now obviously you don't want to give away all your secrets, but let's pick 1 or 2 topic points you guys can really, really dive into.
Yeah.
And I'm going to send you guys this, right? So I recorded the whole conversation on Zoom, chop it up, throw it on your YouTube. You can cut it into, IGTV allows you to do 15 minutes. So you can even cut it to 3 minutes. You get fucking 10 posts worth of content out from this one thing.
Yeah,
I'll send you this, and then we'll do it, and we'll just get into like small steps each way. But I think it was fucking awesome. And I mean, I said we're both like mental people, but we don't practice this stuff. So this is awesome for us to learn too.
Well, dude, I mean, we can talk about this stuff literally all day. Like this is our world. So
wheelhouse.
I'm going to like I said, I have this gym launch thing right here. I'm gonna download this. I'll save it up,